Most advertisers spend hours inside of Facebook ads, but very few of them are actually doing the things that really move the needle. So today I'm gonna break down 10 different things you should be doing in your Facebook ad account in order to improve performance, lower costs, and get you more consistent results every single week. Hey everyone, it's Axel here, and in today's video, I'm gonna run you through 10 tips that you can easily implement in your Facebook ad account to increase your ROAS. We'll start with the first one, which is make sure that you use your audience segment reporting. So within Facebook ads, if you go on the left right here and click on advertising settings right there, and then click on audience segments, it brings you to your audience segment reporting part of the account. Now, a lot of people will have this part and this part right here completely blank, and you should always make sure that you're using these, especially if you're running e-com ads. So anyone who is engaged with your business or website in any sort of way should be included within your engaged audience. When it comes to existing customers, this is your past purchasers. So what you want to do here is create custom audiences within your Facebook audience section. So that means purchasers, add to carts, website visitors, things of the sort, and then add them correctly into these sections right here and right here. So then they are not blank anymore. This will instantly increase your ad performance for two different reasons. Number one, within your campaign manager, you'll be able to correctly segment your results by audience segments. And this will clearly show you what your ROAS is on a retention standpoint for existing customers, for example, versus a new customer acquisition standpoint, which is hugely important when you're trying to scale. The second reason is the second you start labeling to Facebook who an existing customer is or who an engaged customer is, at that point, when it's showing ads to new customers, it has a better idea of which new customer is more likely to convert because you are clearly labeling which type of customer did convert. And so for that reason alone, your new customer acquisition ROAS should go up as well. The second tip I have to share today is to always make sure that your campaigns are optimizing for the end goal. So if you're doing lead generation, this means that your campaigns should be optimizing for leads. If you're doing e-com or purchases, this means that your campaigns should be optimizing for a purchase, kind of like what I have in this account right here. I ran a couple ads in this account to get more past sales for this certain company. And you can notice that out of the campaigns we ran here, that every single one was optimizing for a website purchase event. So what you should never do is have campaigns that are optimizing for an add to cart, a checkout, a click, or just website traffic. All this does is it'll bring traffic at probably a cheaper cost, but it brings in the wrong type of traffic, the type of traffic that just browses around or just adds something to the cart without actually taking that final step. So make sure that you always optimize for the final step, which is either a purchase if you're doing e-com or a lead if you're doing lead gen, and your campaigns should instantly start increasing in performance. Number three is to always optimize around one main goal. This usually is your ROAS or your cost per lead. So many advertisers nowadays get caught up in high CPCs, high CPMs, low CTRs, things of the sort. Honestly, as long as your end goal is in mind, so if your lead cost is below your target or your ROAS is above your target, then you're in a good spot. And when it comes to this as well, let's say you have two different ads where one of them is getting you a good ROAS and the other one is getting you a bad ROAS. If the ad getting you a better return on ad spend for some reason or another has a very high cost per click, but is still getting you that end result at a cheaper cost, then keep running that ad and don't pause it because a middle funnel metric is weaker. As long as the bottom line metric or the main goal is within line and above your target, then you're in a good place and you should keep running those ads. Tip number four is to use retargeting, but don't overspend on it. So you can see that in this account right here, I had a prospecting campaign right here that was spending 50 bucks a day, and then a retargeting campaign that was spending $5 a day. Retargeting is definitely one of the most profitable types of campaigns you can run in an ad account. However, I see too many advertisers overspend on this. And the way you have to think about it is this. Let's say you have a prospecting campaign targeting only new customers. If you double the budget on that campaign, then Facebook will show your ads to twice as many people because you have exclusions in place to not have engaged and existing customers seeing your ad. However, if you are running a retargeting campaign, then you are only showing ads to an inclusion, which is your website visitors, for example, and that audience size has a very small cap and is much smaller than a broad prospecting audience. And so if you double the budget on a campaign like this, the ads will not show to twice as many people. Instead, the ads will show twice as often to the same amount of people. And so even though your return on ad spend might seem super good on retargeting, often you might be overspending on this. So what I suggest here is you check your frequency. If it's above an 8 on a monthly basis, then you're probably overspending and you should tone your budget down. As a rule of thumb, I like to spend about 90% of my total budget on prospecting prompting, and then the other 10% on retargeting and retention campaigns. So make sure you use it, but don't overspend on it. Tip number 5 is to not be afraid to scale if your ads are doing well. If your account is doing well and the ROAS is above target, start scaling your ads. In most scenarios, you're better off spending twice as much on ads and getting a lower ROAS than spending half the amount with a higher ROAS. So for this specifically, I have an example right here. Let's say you spend a total of $25,000 per month on ads, and that is getting you a 4x return. What that essentially means that in revenue from ads, you will get 100K because 25 times 4 is 100. Now, let's assume that your cost of goods sold is at 25%. Out of the revenue you made, about $25,000 will be allocated to your cost of goods sold. So what happens at the end of the month is that you made $100,000 in revenue. You take away $25,000 in ads that you spent and another $25,000 that you spent on your actual product, and it leaves you with a net profit of 50K. Now, let's say you start spending twice as much on ads. So instead of spending $25,000, you start spending $50,000. In a case like this, when you double the ad spend to such a high amount, it's not uncommon to see your ROAS dip to a lower number. In a case like this, where we might see a 3x, for example. However, this is actually a better result, even though the ads are less efficient, and here's why. That's because if you spend $50,000 on ads at a 3x return, your revenue will now be $150,000. Now, assuming that your COGS are still a flat 25%, that will mean that out of the $150,000 you made, that 37.5 is allocated to your cost of goods sold. So now when you calculate your profit, you'll notice that you made $150,000 in revenue. You take away $50,000 from the ads this time, 37.5 from COGS, and you're actually left with a profit of $62,500. So even though you lost 25% in efficiency from going to a 4x to a 3x, your profit actually increased by 25% from $50,000 all the way to $62,500. So if your ads are doing really well and you start scaling your ads, don't necessarily freak out if you see your ROAS goes down. It's often a much better place to be in by spending more and getting a slightly lower return on ad spend. Before I move on to number 6, if you like this video so far, feel free to give me a like and a subscribe below. That way you're updated on all my newest videos to come. Now on to test number 6, which is test a lot of creatives. More than ever now, especially with the new Andromeda update, it's more important than ever that you run a lot of ads in your ad account. Testing more ads allows you to find more winners, and finding more winners is what allows you to scale. And as far as all the different adjustments you can make in an ad account, the creative that you run is the biggest lever you have in terms of performance. So you have to make sure that you're testing as many angles as possible and that you are iterating on your ads that are currently winning. So in terms of testing, that means you should be trying videos, statics, UGCs, testimonial ads, things of the sort. Make sure that you're constantly rolling out new concepts and new ideas to test. And as you find new winners, make sure you iterate on those ads, create variations of them, and run those as well. The whole point is, especially with this new update, that you need to be running as many ads as possible and testing consistently. That way it allows you to find more winning ads that you can spend more money on, and that's what allows you to scale more efficiently. Tip number 7, and this is for ecom strictly, and that is to not only run ads to your PDP, but to also test your homepage and a collections page as well. So in a lot of cases, it actually makes a lot of sense to drive your traffic to the PDP. However, if you ever have a winning ad, it's a pretty good test sometimes to run that ad to number 1, either the collections page, or number 2, the homepage on your website. This sounds a little bit counterintuitive because you are bringing people one step further away from a purchase, but it can actually work quite well. And it's because when you send traffic to a homepage or a collections page, for example, you're being slightly less pushy, which can kind of be beneficial depending on the product you sell. But number 2, people often take more time on your website to browse as opposed to deciding instantly that they want to bounce from their website. So what usually happens is that when you run ads to a collection page and a homepage, even though you're one step further away from the purchase step, the amount of time people spend on your website actually goes up and the bounce rate goes down. And this often makes your CPMs go down. So therefore the cost of advertising goes down. And so often, even though your conversion rate might be slightly lower, the lowered CPM might be a bigger difference than that, making your end cost per result better than originally running the ads to the PDP. So if you ever have a winning ad or a few winning ads, try them out on the collections page and the homepage. Don't ignore them and don't just run your ads to the PDP. Tip number 8 now is to avoid and to not use any of the new AI enhancements. So there's a spot in Facebook for this within the advertiser settings. If you go right here, so if I click on that and then I click on creative features right here, you want to make sure that this test new creative feature is turned off. Facebook ads with their recent Andromeda update just rolled out a bunch of AI enhancements that get auto-applied to your ads, and you don't want to have any one of them live. It's because it's important to test a lot of ads, but also it's very important to actually know which ads actually work. The second you turn on these AI enhancements, it starts to distort your photos, add music, change your copy, do all sorts of things that are completely out of your control, and it can often distort an ad so much that it doesn't look at all the same as when you first launched it. And so because of that, if an ad works, you have no idea if that's because the original concept of the ad actually worked itself, or if it's because the AI that kicked in to make it work. Also know that a lot of the time when you run this AI stuff, that the performance just generally drops in general, so I would avoid it entirely for that reason. But the main reason being that it can often completely hide what your real results are on the new concepts that you're rolling out if you're running a lot of different ads. Tip number 9 is to use UTM parameters, especially if you're running e-com ads on 2 different platforms. So let's say Google ads and Facebook ads. You'll notice that if you run ads on 2 different platforms, that platforms will often over attribute and steal each other's conversions. So what I mean by this is if someone sees one of your Facebook ads and then clicks on a Google ad and then completes a purchase, you'll often notice that a count of +1 purchases will appear in both ad accounts. UTM parameters give you a much more clear picture in your CRM or Shopify on where the result actually came from. So when it comes to analyzing the creatives, the targeting, the ad sets, and the campaigns that you're running and where the results are actually coming from, depending on each platform, using UTMs will give you a clear picture on where to spend more money. If you don't know how to set these up, I did make a video entirely on this topic a few weeks ago. So if you want to learn how to implement these on a technical level, be sure to click the link in the description and I'll share that below. And my final and 10th tip to increase the ROAS in your Facebook ad account is to use CBO instead of ABO. CBO is way more beneficial than ABO for 2 different reasons. Number 1, on an ABO, you're often forcing ad spend into ads that don't work. And number 2, which is even more important, you are preventing your winning ads from spending the amount they should be spending. So to really showcase this, I'll just show you an example right here. Let's say you have an ABO campaign that is spending a total of $300. So you have ad set 1, which is spending $100, ad set 2, which is also spending $100, and ad set 3, which is also spending $100. You'll often see a result like this, where ad set 1 will get you a 3x, ad set 2 will get you a 2x, and ad set 3 will give you a 1.5x. A lot of advertisers will see these results and not doing anything about it. As long as they're above the break even, they think that this is a good result. And even though the 1.5x might be above your break even, a 3x is better and you should be spending more on that. So transitioning to CBO would give you a structure that is more similar to this. So instead of spending the $300 evenly across 3 ad sets, what you do is you spend the $300 on a campaign level, and then you let Facebook choose where that money is actually being allocated. And what will often happen is ad set 1, which was your top performer, will start to spend more money and retain a similar ROAS. So this time it'll get a 3x, but it'll spend over half the budget, for example. It'll also maybe recognize that ad set 2 gets a similar return as it used to, but it will not push any further spend because that is about the account average that you're getting. And then in a case like ad set 3, which was your lowest performer, the CBO will often instantly start to spend less money on ads and drop this from $100, for example, to $50. Also, it's not unusual for the ROAS to go up as an ad spends less. So what might happen here is that this 1.5x might turn into a 2x since you're spending less. The whole point is that on a CBO, you are allowing your winning ads, so essentially this ad set right here, to spend more, and then you're losing ads, so this ad set right here, to spend less, which should automatically make the overall ROAS in your account go up. So if you're still running an ABO today, make sure you switch to a CBO straight away, and within a week, you'll probably see an instant increase in performance on your ad account. So that's it for today's video. Hopefully the tips I showed you today are quick and easy for you to implement and can start showing a positive result in your ad account soon. If you'd like someone to manage your Facebook ads for you or implement some of these suggestions for you, then feel free to use my link in the description below. That way we can have a chat. And if you have any questions as usual about anything I explained in this video, feel free to drop that in the comments as well. Apart from that, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you on the next one.